and welcome back to Historified. We've got an exciting episode, really just beyond today, right? We've
Yep.
got exciting episodes for July.
Yeah, it's going to be a continuing episode. Um, it's going to be one big long episode broken up into little chunks, but tons of history.
And I think we're doing that really because there's so much information. It's like we could make one podcast like 2 hours long
Probably.
or
Yeah.
more. And we don't want to lose our audience like
Right. No.
halfway through because they have to go eat dinner or they have to go
Right.
drive somewhere or take the kid to whatever practice. So
Yeah. So we're doing this for you because we're givers.
we are givers.
We are. So, um, as you know, depending on when this episode gets dropped, we are celebrating America's 250th birthday. Yay! And Jamie,
Yes.
you and I can say that now I know you were really young and you probably don't remember, but you and I can say that we celebrated the bicentennial of the United States of America and the semi-quincentennial of the United States of America.
Yes, we can.
And that is just so cool. I love it. I love that word semi-quincentennial. Maybe because it has Quinn in it, but I think it's just so cool that we're 250 years, people. So Jamie and I did some digging and we bring you McKinney history. That's what we do. We spill the tea. I'm going to show you. We spill the tea on McKinney's
I don't have
history.
my mug.
Our Historified podcast. But today we're going to take you back a little farther to the beginning of America. So we are so excited. Are you excited, Jamie?
I'm super excited.
Um,
And we both fell down rabbit holes doing the research for this.
total rabbit holes. We came up with this a couple weeks ago. We're like, okay, next week let's video. And then it kind of turned into, oh, I need more time.
Yeah.
There's more. So
And
but
then we're like, we need to probably split this up.
into a couple. So we each took two families from McKinney and traced them back to the Revolutionary War. And it ended up being, I ended up having to research a lot of different families to kind of get back to the Revolutionary War, but they all have ties to McKinney, the people that I found. So I'm very excited to start this episode.
Yay!
So we're going to start. Jamie, why don't you start with Lucy?
Okay. Well, so Lucy Field Delaney, who is part of the Delaney family, as you should all know by now, those of our fans and our followers who have been following us for some time or have been to Chestnut Square. And if you haven't, come on in because we're fun and exciting and full of history. But I did do some history on Lucy Field Delaney, and I was able to pull up and get the information on the ancestor who fought in the Revolutionary War. And it's through this ancestor that she is a DAR member.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't go down to anybody else in her family. For all I know, she could have had more family members down different tree limbs and branches that have fought. We just focused on the one that we have her DAR certificate in the Delaney house.
And so you can come see that DAR certificate on any kind of tour that you want to take. It's pretty cool to be able to look at that. And right across from that is a picture of Lucy Field Delaney as a youngster.
And the Delaney house is back on tour in July, so
Yes!
it's perfect. You will be able to see it.
It has been off tour for almost a year now because we have been curating quilts, which we're almost finished curating the quilts. So we're very excited that she's coming back on tour this July. So make sure you come and see. We're going to have her decorated.
So, and she's a beautiful, she's a gem, that Delaney house.
Definitely, definitely.
Okay, so I told you, Annie, I went down the rabbit hole on Robert Field. So Robert Field is Lucy Field Delaney's ancestor.
Okay.
And so I'm going to pull up my notes. So if you see me going in like this, it's because I'm reading them.
You
I
have
have
them memorized?
I have 13 pages.
Oh my gosh.
Now, I mean, I double space and everything, but this research was really, really interesting, and I want to share the process of how I had to find this gentleman's records because I'm sure there are a lot of people that are maybe interested in their own family lines and how they can find out if they have a Revolutionary War veteran in their background. So, yes, I'm going to pull this up and I'm going to share with you the history of Robert Field, the ancestor of Lucy Field Delaney. So, Lucy is a daughter to Jesse Field. I'm going to do the little links here.
Mhm.
Jesse Field is her dad, and he is the son of John Field. John Field is the son of Robert Field, and that is who we researched. Um, so Robert Field, he entered the Revolutionary Service in 1777, and it's 2 years after the war began and 4 years before victory at Yorktown. So another thing I really liked about this, Annie, is I have not dove into the history of the Revolutionary War itself for a really long time. So this was a nice refresher. And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, yeah, that's right. I remember that. So this was also just a really great refresher for my own American history knowledge. So at the time, the American independence was far from certain. So at the time when Robert signed up to be a patriot, it was really unsure of what was going on. It was risky. And he served during the critical middle years of the revolution. And so the outcome hung in the balance, and local militia officers like him helped sustain Virginia's war effort. He was in Virginia. Um, he so when he was serving, the victory wasn't assured, and it was still when it could have failed.
Oh,
So,
okay. That's pretty
um,
cool.
it is really something to ponder about, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I think another something, and I'm going to get into it. I'm sorry, I might jump around because it's really hard not to jump around when you're really passionate about history.
Yep.
And some things like click in your head, and you're like, oh, wow. So I was just telling my son this too. When we signed the Declaration of Independence, we were not independent yet. We were declaring our independence, and we were in the fight.
Mhm.
So, what's crazy to me, and it's just like anybody like Robert Field who would have signed up, if there was paperwork to show that they were going against the crown, had this failed, they were basically signing their death certificate.
Yep.
And that's the same with the Declaration of Independence. So if you ever get the big blast to go see the
Mhm.
actual, Declaration of Independence, or even just look at it online, to imagine those men signing it, had that failed, should we have failed, there is no denying of them being traitors.
Oh, definitely, and they would have been killed.
They would have been, it was literally give me liberty or give me death.
Yep.
They would have died because their names were right there. It was unmistakable treason. Boom. And that's why we talk about the treason, right?
Right.
So there's proof of that. So that really, that moment, like that, but then when you just sit back and you think about it, you're like, like literally, it was either we're gonna win or we're gonna die. Also, starting off this series as we talk about all those that we have researched is something to really think about. Robert Field was his service or finding record of his service was not easy. Um, and there is not a
None
lot.
of this was easy.
I know. I know,
Woo!
because I know when you talk about the ancestor that, you were researching,
Mhm.
I know you also had to go in different areas, and, this is why a lot of families run into, dead ends when it comes to the Revolutionary War, because there are just not a lot of records that have survived for specific reasons, or names are spelled differently. A lot of times, names are spelled the way that they sound,
Right.
and so it could change from, from one to another. And a name like Robert Field, I can only imagine how many Robert Fields there were.
Mhm.
It was, it's like John Smith.
Right.
So, it was really hard to find record of Robert Field. I- It's interesting on how Lucy was able to get her DAR membership because something actually happened to Robert's all his paperwork. So, what we know of Robert Field, his service, his war ties, and significant history is that he served under Captain Landon Jones and Albert Marley. I don't know if I pronounce it Albemarle County in 1777. And he also paid a supply tax in 1783. And I was able to find that only through the DAR records. So, Daughters of the American Revolution, that's what DAR is.
Mhm.
They do have some of their records available online.
And we
But
actually have a chapter that meets here, um,
that's right.
monthly or every other month here at Chestnut Square. So hopefully we'll get some of them listening to this and they can come help us with some research or something.
That would be great.
Yeah.
But yes, so there's also Sons of the American
Mhm.
Revolution, just so you know, gentlemen, that you can also find a chapter of Sons if you find out you have a family member that fought in the American Revolution. So I was only able to find Robert Field's service record or proof of his service, I should say, through the DAR records online. And that was still a little bit of digging. I had to know actually the number, and luckily we have Lucy's certificate. So I was able to search for Robert Field under the number that was assigned to that ancestor of hers. So all they have on there is that he, when he served, who he served under, and where, and that he paid a supply tax in 1783. So, but it turns out that he was an ensign, and it's Ensign.
Mhm.
And he was about 32 years old, and he was an officer in the county militia company rather than a Continental Army regiment. And the Virginia counties organized companies under local captains, and these units were called out for local defense, guarding prisoners, escort duty, musters and training, emergency mobilization, uh, and reinforcing state or continental forces when needed. And I hate that I cannot pronounce this county, and someone go ahead and put in the comments, Jamie, this is how it's pronounced. Many Albemarle militia companies spent much of their time close to home rather than campaigning in the north. I'm going to get into more a little bit of what was happening in the area when he served, but I wanted to touch a little bit on the paid supply tax because that's very interesting. It's something I didn't know. That is also a way that you can be a DAR member or a SAR member if your ancestor just paid a tax that went to the Patriots' fight. It is still considered a service
Oh, cool.
of the war. So it's a completely different type of revolutionary service, and Virginia levied taxes and requisitions to support the Revolutionary War effort. So paying a supply tax was considered patriotic service because it helped fund or provision the war. So it's still a way to become a member, even if maybe one of your ancestors wasn't a soldier. If they paid a tax, they were still part of the Revolutionary War. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I thought you had to fight. You had
That's
to
what
have
I
an ancestor
thought
that
too.
fought. But yeah, but
Yeah,
I
so
guess, if you supported it, because a lot of the people um in some of the stories that I've read is if you commanded a troop of people, you were responsible for finding the guns and finding their uniforms and doing all that. So yeah, they'd say, "Hey Jamie, why don't you be a general and you lead this group of people?" Well, it wasn't really because you were so great at being a soldier. It was because you probably had money,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they used to pay for their commissions. I know the British officers used to pay for their commission, which I thought, okay, so you pay to be in, you buy your way in. So I just think that that's pretty interesting. I
That
never
is,
realized that.
yeah, I never really thought about that.
Yeah,
Just one of those other things that when you go
we'll
in
go
these
down the
rabbit
rabbit
holes,
hole.
right? So, so when Robert Field when we know of when he served, which was 1777, literally the only year that we know of, and I'm getting to that, I promise, what was happening in that specific county. So 1777 was actually a significant year for Albemarle County. I wish I could call it something else. Virginia was organizing and strengthening its militia system. The Saratoga campaign was occurring in the north. And after the American victory at Saratoga, thousands of captured British and German troops were eventually sent to the Albemarle Barracks near Charlottesville beginning in 1778. So, guarding and supporting that prisoner operation became a major local military responsibility. Um, Now, I did find out that there's no found record directly tying Jones's company, which is, Robert's captain,
Mhm.
to the Albemarle Barracks. Um, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't a part of it. It doesn't mean that he was. There was just no record
They just
surviving.
never kept records like they do
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, there was just no record tying Robert Field's specific regiment or captain's party to that service. But that's what was going on in the area. Now, what's interesting is that Robert Field, I think I already mentioned it, his all his paperwork was destroyed. And so how did Lucy's family be able to find out that he actually served? Well, there was a pension of an Evan T. Watson, and he was a Revolutionary War veteran. And he mentions Robert Field's name in his pension. And that is the only way that they have
Oh,
record that Robert Field served and what he was. So that is the only way, which is crazy
that
when you
is
think about
crazy.
it. If it
Yeah.
wasn't for the recollection from this one veteran, this Revolutionary War veteran, that said, yes, I served under this, I talked to this person, I remember this, and then I did this with this person. If it wasn't for that, Robert Field would not even be known as a Revolutionary War veteran.
Wow.
In this pension, it was drafted in Albemarle County, and it suggests that Landon Jones's company may have been a drafting or a feeder militia company that supplied men to larger Virginia forces when required. So this gentleman, this Evan T. Watson, he actually was given by Robert Field a direction on where to go. And so he said, then I was in so and so county in Virginia, and the ensign, Robert Field, directed me under Captain Landon Jones to go to this part. And so I did. And it was just that one sentence
Wow.
that ties Robert Field to his service as an ensign in the Revolutionary War.
So what I've heard that term before, ensign. Do you know what that mean what that is? Is that the just like a recorder, a secretary, or
So he's actually higher up
okay.
than like a soldier,
Okay.
but he's not high up like a captain. So he would an ensign. This is the way that I remembered it as I was doing research. He assigned.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So
Yeah,
he
okay.
assigned you
To
to
where
do
you
this.
go.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, he was still under Captain Jones, and he was under somebody else. I'm going to get to. That's very fascinating.
Mhm.
But obviously Captain Jones would be like, okay, Mr. Field, we're going to be sending people to this, and this. And so then Robert Field, as people would come in, he
Would
would be
tell
like,
them where to
you're
go?
going here. I'm
Okay.
going to send you there. Your regiment's going here. And so that's what he would do.
Okay.
That's my understanding from just the research
Mhm.
that I've done. Um, so I just thought it was incredibly interesting. And I have it now, Annie, saved in our Chestnut Square records
Oh,
of
good. Thank you.
where you can even find this pension that mentions Robert Field's name.
Okay.
So, anyway, so it does say, I do have it in here in my notes. Since he was an ensign, he was one of the company's officers. And so there were typically a handful of officers, but he still wasn't high. It was like Captain Landon Jones,
Mhm.
Lieutenant, then ensign Robert Field, and then there would be all like the privates.
Okay.
So they were under, so he was kind of like, almost I feel like a supervisor,
Right.
right? I mean,
Right.
just a little
Yeah.
up there. And he got his records directly, I believe, from the captain.
Okay.
Um, so in the pension, literally, this is what it says. It says, here is company remain. Again, this is for somebody else. And your petitioner was sent under Ensign Robert Field, who belonged to the company of Captain Landon and was, he thinks, 14 miles from Hampton towards the mouth of the Potomac, where we lay as guard to the portion of the coast. Now, one line. That was
That's
it.
it. That got it.
That was
Wow.
it.
Wow.
And in the beginning of the sentence, how do we know 1777? Because he said on or about the 1st of September, 1777.
Wow.
That's when he joined. And then this was there was an order where he went and what he did. And then there's Robert Field's name.
Cool.
So, okay. So I did mention why, I did mention that Robert Field's, his record is gone. It's been destroyed.
Right.
And most of the Albemarle County order books for that exact period completely are gone. They no longer exist. And
Wow.
so I'm like, well, why? What happened? I don't understand how this whole county, which was a vital county, and you're going to find out more why their records are gone.
Mhm.
And that's because court records from about 1748 through 1781 were destroyed by the British raid on Charlottesville in 1781. So I didn't know
Wow.
about that.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's these little battles and these little raids that you don't learn about in school. I don't know what they learn about now in school about the Revolutionary War, but when I was in school, so it was 8th grade that we learned our US history.
Mhm.
And so I feel like that was the last time I really dove this deep. I'm sorry to say, it's shameful.
We learned it in 8th grade and 11th grade. That's in
Okay.
Texas. That's what you get it in 8th grade, and then you get it in 11th grade.
Okay. I do believe that we did look back on it a little bit in high school,
Mhm.
but I'm not quite sure
Yeah,
on
who
that.
remembers? It's been a long time.
It's been too long. It's been too long. So yay 250 for saying, Jamie, you need to do some US history.
Right.
So all order books except the first and many loose papers between those years were destroyed by the British. And so that means if Robert Field was appointed, then inside in 1777, or even before that, the original court order recording is just gone. So he could have served longer than 1777. He could have started before then, but we only have that one pension that mentions him and acknowledges that Robert Field was indeed an ensign in 1777.
Wow.
So it's just crazy to me. Just something you don't really think about. I know we do a lot of research, even here in McKinney, Annie, you know that. It's
Yeah.
like something's going to, like getting a pirate map out.
Mhm.
And we're trying to find this stuff, and we know that there are records missing even around here for whatever XYZ, or they just didn't write them down. We know we have people over in Pecan Grove where we're like, well, I see their grave, but there's no record of them.
Right, right. Well, Annie Mary Delaney.
Yeah, she's the perfect example.
We know that
So-
she existed because
Mhm.
she's buried in Pecan Grove Cemetery, but we don't know her birth date.
So, I mean, so you and I, we're not new to the idea of records just not existing, but I never stopped and thought about it's because the British raided and destroyed it.
Right.
So I don't know why. That just never would occur to me that that's could have possibly have happened. And it just shows how the fights were going.
Mhm.
So, something else that I did run into for future research, if we wanted to dive more down into this rabbit hole of
Dig it
Robert
deeper.
Field, is that there are ways and there are other avenues to do research for anybody that you might be looking up. And so I was lucky and I was able to put in this paperwork. So even though I had to first start with the DAR records, there's tax records, there's deeds, there's later county records. In the state of Virginia, they have state level militia records, unless it's been destroyed by the British.
By the British in 1782.
But also, what's interesting is there are the Jefferson Papers.
Okay.
And because it turns out that Thomas Jefferson was deeply involved in the Albemarle County Affairs and Militia Organization in 1777.
Wow. I wonder how far away that is from where he was, because he
Well,
was in Virginia.
let me tell you.
Okay. Tell me, Jamie, tell me.
So, but there are surviving militia returns and officer lists from Albemarle sometimes appear in the Jefferson Papers rather than county court records. And there are known surviving Albemarle militia returns from the Revolutionary period. In 1777, when Robert Field was serving as an ensign that we know of under Captain Landon Jones, Jefferson was also the colonel and county lieutenant of the Albemarle County militia system. And
What?
so he was the senior military officer responsible for all militia affairs in the county. So that includes supervising militia companies and officers, maintaining muster rolls, organizing drafts and replacements for the Continental Army units, calling out militia in emergencies, and presiding over court martial and military administration. So while Robert Field certainly reported directly to Captain Landon Jones, and Jones would have answered through local chain of commands, that company was part of the militia organization overseen by Jefferson.
Wow.
And it wasn't some remote area when it comes to Jefferson, because Jefferson lived at Monticello,
Mhm.
and his brother Randolph served in the Albemarle militia.
Cool.
And the county was actually the center of revolutionary politics.
Okay, so poor Randolph Jefferson.
Who knew about
I
Randolph?
never knew he had a brother named Randolph. Oh, now I want to research Randolph.
I know, right? So what that means is that Robert Field may have lived in a community where Thomas Jefferson wasn't just a founding father, but he was a local official.
Right. So he might have actually interacted with
He
him.
could have seen Jefferson. He could
Yeah.
have talked to him. Hi, sir. You know,
Wow.
whatever.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I thought that was really, really neat.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to talk about the fire real quick, because that was really, it destroyed it. Talks about Saratoga. That would have been the biggest event during Robert Field's known service. And that's when the French army came in and why they were important. Girl, I want to go in really quick during the time of Robert Field's known service, the raid on Charlottesville that actually destroyed his war records, because what I found is just incredibly interesting on this raid. So I'm just going to go into that, and then we'll wrap up honoring Robert Field and his patriotism to helping make America free. The destruction of the Albemarle County's records was a consequence of Banastre Tarleton's raid on Charlottesville in June 1781. It was part of the British campaign to cripple Virginia's revolutionary government. 1781, the war had shifted south. British General Charles Cornwallis, does that name?
Yeah, that name rings a bell. Yep.
Was operating in Virginia, and the British wanted to capture Virginia's political leadership, destroy their military supplies, disrupt a militia organization, and prevent Virginia from supporting Washington's army. So Governor Thomas Jefferson had moved much of Virginia's government inland to Charlottesville because it seemed safer than Williamsburg or Richmond. So then on
Okay.
June 4th, 1781, Lieutenant Colonel Bonison led about 180 to 250 mounted British troops on a rapid strike toward Charlottesville. And their objectives included capturing Governor Thomas Jefferson. They wanted to capture him. I didn't know this. Capture members of the Virginia legislature. They wanted to destroy military stores and disrupt the local government. And the Virginia legislature was meeting nearby at Charlottesville. So
Okay.
this is where it becomes, I have in my notes, cinematic.
Wow.
What do you
Yes.
like with that? Okay.
Okay.
So Jefferson was at Monticello when he received warning that British cavalry were approaching. A rider named Jack Jowett. Have you ever heard of him?
Jack.
It's Jouett.
Okay. No, I've never.
Jowett.
Mhm.
Jowett almost looks French, right?
Right. Yeah.
And we know the French played an
Yes.
important role. So he made a famous overnight ride, and he was called the Paul Revere of the South.
Wow.
So he went from Louisa County to Charlottesville and Monticello to warn the legislators and Jefferson. And thanks to his warning, most legislators escaped.
Mhm.
Jefferson escaped from Monticello only shortly before Tarleton's men arrived. So
Wow.
literally just got out of there. So the British ended up failing to capture the Virginia government.
Wow.
So I thought that was crazy.
Yeah.
So, but even though their main targets escaped, the British still occupied the area briefly, something I also didn't know.
Yeah.
And so their military stores and their public property was damaged or destroyed. And during those operations, county records and government papers in Albemarle were lost. And this is why, historians and genealogists encounter the frustrating note that most of the paperwork
Mhm.
that from 1748 to 1781, were destroyed by the British.
Right.
So,
And it was such important paperwork because Jefferson had
right?
was part of that. So all of the wording and the knowledge that was lost.
And I have in here the irony is the raid failed in its primary objective. The
Right.
British did not capture Jefferson. They did not capture most of the legislators. But here we are, 240 plus years later.
Right. Still
And
talking
we're
about it.
still dealing with the effects of that raid.
Right.
We can't find these records.
Right.
These county records, these men's services are gone. It's crazy.
History, yeah, it is crazy. Yeah.
So all of that just from one DAR number. Just letting you know.
And it's tied to McKinney, Texas.
To McKinney, Texas. Then just 2 years later, we got the Treaty of Paris and formally ends the war in 1783.
Wow. That's
So
amazing.
it is insane. 10 years after the Boston Tea Party,
Yes.
1773.
Exactly, where they spilled the first tea.
That's right.
And that's what we do. We spill the tea.
We spilled
Wow.
the tea.
That is amazing.
And so that is the ancestor to our very own Lucy Ann Field Delaney.
That is awesome. So I think we're going to end this one here just because there's a lot of information. We just have a couple things that I just want to mention that are going on here. First of all, I'd like you to check out Jamie's background because she is actually sitting right in front of me. Normally, I'm looking at her house. We are in the middle of our 250th Collin County, Texas Museum Patch Quest. And so if you haven't been on your Patch Quest yet, you can still start. I think most of the museums are just running it until they run out of patches. So these patches are truly limited edition. And there are some cool patches. And I just want to show you what I've gotten so far because I have been trying to go to the museums and doing patch swaps with them. Aren't these cool patches? I'm trying to get it so that you guys can see it. So we have the military. There's a military museum in Collin County. Who knew? I didn't know. I mean, they're part of the Collin County Historic Commission, but I had never been there. Cool place.
I
I can't
believe
wait
they're
to
in
go back.
Nevada. I believe
They're
they're
in
in
Nevada,
Nevada.
Texas, yes, which is the very eastern tip
Yes, it is.
of Collin County. It's amazing. My son loved it. My husband loved. I loved it. Just the amount of history there. So I can't wait to go back and visit them again. Um, and then this is our patch. So, everything's bigger and better in Texas. So the military museum and Chestnut Square certainly got that memo. But then the Brown House is a beautiful museum in Wiley, Texas. We have our Collin County History Museum that has great exhibits going on right now. That's really fun to go see. And then the Herd Craig House here in McKinney. Those are the ones that I have been able to visit and get their patches for. And they're just everybody is very excited to share this program. So make sure that you check us out. You can check out our Facebook page. We have lots of information about it. So we're celebrating America 250. We're going to keep celebrating it. And we hope to see you come into the museum, take a tour here, and you can receive a America 250 patch. Again, it's only till supplies run out. So while supplies last. And then I'm just going to mention it, and I'll probably mention it at the end of every one because it's such an important project for us and a love that Jamie and I started here at Chestnut Square. But it's our military banners. Jamie, explain a little bit about what the military banners are, and then I'll tell you guys how to get them.
So our military banners, and you may have seen them if you've been here on Farmers Market or just walk through the village, they're lined up on Chestnut Street. And they were started as a way for us to honor those who have served our country. And it doesn't matter what branch, it doesn't matter when they served. It is all across the board. And so these are ways for family members, and you don't even have to be born in McKinney. That's what I love about our banners. I've been to a lot of counties, or I've gone through, and I'm always so thrilled when I see places, throughout our country or anywhere honoring those who have served. But usually it's homeborn, it's the town that they were born in, which I think is so great. But McKinney, we've grown so much that most of our wonderful residents are not born in McKinney.
Right.
But this is now where they call home. And so we have these wonderful military banners to where you can honor the loved one and you can show everybody, look, Grandpa Joe, he served. I'm so proud of him. He served in the Army from so-and-so and so-and-so, until then, this is what he was. And we bring them out every year.
Yes. Several times a year.
And they're growing and we're getting more. Our goal is to have the village full of them when we bring them out. So then families or even visitors to McKinney can stroll through the village and just be so thankful to these men and women who have done so much, some of them the ultimate sacrifice to give us the freedoms that we are now celebrating 250 years of.
Right.
So if it wasn't for these men and women, those Revolutionary War soldiers, we could even put one up.
Yes.
If we can find a picture. I don't know if you can. But it's those men and women that have really created what we have as a nation. They preserved it. They fought for it, and we honor it. And I think it's beautiful.
And we purposely named it McKinney, Texas Honors
Yes.
America's Hometown Heroes because they don't even have to have lived in McKinney for you to honor. It can be anybody in your family. There are several in my family that are lined up. They're from Michigan, but they are honored here in McKinney, Texas. It's just great. So we made the decision. They normally will be up in May for Memorial Day. and then we take them down, and then we put them back up for the month of November for Veterans Day. We thank them the whole month long. But we're keeping them up through July this year because it is such a big 250th anniversary. And I am going to have one made either with the names of the people that we share here that are linked to McKinney. Their ancestry is linked here. Last year I found a World War I brigadier general, and so he's out there. So all of the proceeds for these are going towards keeping up Bobby's room, who Bobby was really our first guy on the fence. He was a 19-year-old McKinney High School graduate. He was born and raised here in McKinney, and he unfortunately passed away during World War II. But we have a room here that is dedicated to him and to all of the World War II service members. As you can imagine, it's in an 1870s house, and things happen, and we have to keep that house up because it's just a beautiful house, the Johnson house, but his room does need some fixing. And the proceeds from these banners have already bought 2 windows that have been upgraded, specifically in Bobby's room. So that's kind of what we're trying to do with this, is keep the memories of these men and women who served so bravely. I mean, if you think that the people who served in the Revolutionary War, especially on the Patriot side, they were just regular people. It would be like you and me, Jamie, getting out there and going and, fighting. I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
They didn't know what they were doing. They weren't soldiers, but they felt so deeply that we needed to be free and we needed to represent ourselves that they've created the greatest country in the world for freedom and for democracy. So we're just excited. So go out on our website, www.chestnutsquare.org, and find the military banners, and you can order one, and we have them printed. We put them up, and just know that they are made to be reused. So we put them back up, and your loved one will be honored every time we put them up. So please go out and buy that. And with that, I think we're finished with this episode of Historified.
Are we done with this one?
We are done with this one, I think.
I felt like there was more. That's okay. We got
Well,
another.
dot,
We
dot,
got
we've got
another one to
another one coming
record.
If we don't see you before the 4th of July, happy birthday, America. We're going to try to get one of these out every week in July. Who knows, this week, after this one comes out, we might just drop the next day. We might just get the other one out.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening to us. Follow us on all of our social media accounts, and make sure to click like. Make sure to share us. And
Share,
subscribe.
yeah,
Yes.
share and subscribe, especially if we drop them like randomly,
Yes.
which we've been doing not really on purpose. It's just how the schedule's been
Mhm.
going right now. Annie, it was really, really busy in May.
Yes. A little bit.
And so, we're
And then June.
and
we've been-
June. So,
We're getting it in there.
the best way to not miss a Historified drop is by subscribing.
Yes. And soon we'll figure all this out.
We will.
Yes.
We're getting there.
We're getting better. So have a great day, and we'll see you soon.
Bye. And